Lots of people travel to the big station at the end of the line. Engines from the other railway sometimes pull their trains. These engines stay the night and go home again the next day. Gordon was talking to one of these engines one day. "Oh, when I was young, Green," he said, "I remember going to London. Do you know the place? The station called King's Cross." "King's Cross," snorted the engine. "London's Euston. Everyone knows that." "Rubbish," said the duck. "London's Paddington. I know, I worked there." They argue till they went to sleep. They argue when they woke up. They were still arguing when the other engine went away. "Stupid thing," said Gordon crossly. "I have no patience." "Stupid yourself," said Duke. "London's Paddington. Paddington, you hear?" "Stop arguing," said James. "You make me tired. You're both arguing. You both agree about one thing, anyway." "Oh, really? And what is that?" "London's not Euston," laughed James. "Now shut up." Gordon rolled away, grumbling. "I'm sure it's King's Cross. Shh, shh, shh. I'll go there and prove it. Shh, shh, shh." One day, but that was easier said than done. London, lay way beyond the big station at the other end of the line. Gordon had to stop there and let another engine take his train the rest of the way. "If I didn't stop," he thought, "I could go all the way to London." One day, he ran through the station. Another time, he tried to start before the fireman could uncouple the coaches. He tried all sorts of tricks, but it was no good. His driver checked him every time. "Oh dear, shh, shh," he thought sadly. "I'll never get there. Shh, shh, shh. I'll never get there." One day, he pulled the express to the station as usual. His fireman uncoupled the coaches, and he ran to his siding and waited until it was time for him to go home again. The coaches waited and waited at the platform, but the other engine didn't come. A porter ran across and spoke to Gordon's driver.
The inspector is on the platform. He wants to see you.
The driver climbed down from the cab and walked over to the station. He came back a few minutes later, looking excited. "Hello," said the fireman. "What happened?" The other engine that was supposed to pull the express turned over when it was coming out of the yard. No other engine can now come in or out. They want us to take the train all the way to London. I said we would if the Fat Controller agrees. They telephoned the Fat Controller. He said it was all right and gave them the go-ahead. "How's that?" "Fine, fine," said the fireman. "We'll show them what one of the Fat Controller's engines can do." "Come on, shh! Let's go, shh!" said Gordon. He rolled quickly over to the crossings and backed onto the coaches. It was only a few minutes before the guard blew his whistle. But Gordon thought it was ages. "Come on, come on," he puffed to the coaches. "Come on, come on, come on, come on."
"We're going to town! We're going to town!"
sang the coaches. Slowly at first, then faster and faster. Gordon found that London was a long way away. "Never mind," he said. "I like a good long ride to stretch my wheels." But at the same time, he was really glad when London was in sight. The Fat Controller came into his office the next morning. He looked at the letters on his desk. One had a London postmark. "Oh, I wonder how Gordon is getting on," he said. The station master knocked and came in. He looked excited.
"Excuse me, sir. Have you seen the news?"
"Not yet. Why?"
Just look at this, sir."
The Fat Controller took a look at the newspaper. "Goodness gracious me," he said. "There's Gordon's headlines too. Famous engine at London station. Police called to control crowds. The Fat Controller read on, absorbed. Gordon returned the next day. The Fat Controller spoke to his driver and fireman. I see you got a good welcome in London. We certainly did, sir. We signed autographs until our arms ached. And Gordon had his photographs taken from every angle imaginable. Good, smiled the Fat Controller. I expect he enjoyed himself. Didn't you, Gordon? No, sir. I didn't. Why have you not? London's all wrong, answered Gordon sadly. They've changed it. It isn't King's Cross anymore. It's St. Pancras.